Hi everyone, welcome back to Creative Frequency. I am your host Oyoko, and for today's episode we have a very special guest, Rave Report, and we will be talking about music journalism, murals, but also community events and just like using community and music as a way to create change. And I'm very excited to have her. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you all to Rave Report. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate
Thank you for having me too. Like you came here, so I'm really excited about that. I guess first things first, for those who do not know you, who's Rave Report?
Yeah, of course. So you've already touched on it, but music journalist, graffiti artist, muralist, all about women's empowerment, world music, and how I can channel my story and my poetry into my art and my experience and how I kind of push that out into the world. So it's very much part of my lived experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I guess we would love to know a little bit about your journey from like where you started up until now. So if you can give us like a quick whistle stop tour of where it started up until today.
Okay. Yeah. So it all started after a breakup, as often the best things do.
Okay. Did not expect
the
that.
best
But
things start after
yeah.
a breakup. You know, you need to have your glow up. And I was in Albania in a music festival on the beach. Deep house. It wasn't what I would normally go to. I was in the drum and bass scene for like 10 years.
Nice.
So I know you love a bit of
I love it. I love it so
well.
much. Love it so much.
Yeah, so this was like a different experience for me. It was kind of pushing out into new genres. And I connected with some ravers on the dance floor. Specifically, there was a brother and sister from Mumbai. And they were telling me about the techno warehouse scene in Mumbai. And I was like, what? I didn't know they had techno and like,
that's so sick.
You know, all that rave scene there. So I wanted to learn more about their stories, and it just got me thinking about what's beyond the London scene. And then when I got back, I was out, because, you know, post-breakup, you're outside.
Yeah, definitely outside, yeah.
I was outside. So I was at Studio 338 at another house event, because I was on the house vibes, and there was a Saudi girl. And she had these incredible dance moves, nothing like you would see in the London scene, like in the house scene.
Yeah.
So I was quite drawn towards her as well. We became friends. And she was telling me all about the jazz scene in Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
So I was like, there's so many stories to tell from people on dance floors. You don't need to be an artist.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has a story, you know, people who love their scenes as much as I do. So, yeah, that's how it started. I thought, let me tell their stories. Let me just interview them and publish
That's so
it.
sick. I would love to know more about like the Saudi Arabia's like jazz scene, or like, you know, just like the music scene in general. That's so sick.
Yeah, and even since then, that was 2019, and like, it's come such a long way since there. Just with all the politics, and like now it's in a completely different place. Like now they're having raves in Saudi Arabia.
Oh wow.
They weren't when I first met her.
Okay.
So yeah, we can get onto that.
Yeah.
But that's where it all started.
So would you say that the mission is to share the stories of the cosmopolitan person in the music scene across the world? Or am I making stuff?
Yeah, I might have to put that in my tagline somewhere.
Yeah, just like sharing untold stories and like from like different perspectives in the music scene. Is that like kind of like the mission?
That's
then?
how it all started.
Okay.
It's evolved, but that's how it all started.
Okay,
yes.
so where is it now then? As you say, if it's like evolved.
Yeah, that's where it all started. Very much about world music, interviewing people who I met on dance floors, or even people who I've reached out to online. I'd say now we're in a very different place. It's more about my journeys through London communities, London creative scenes, and sort of collaborating with them more in person.
Okay.
I found that over 5 years of doing this, there's only so much screen time I can do.
Okay.
So like now I really like doing in-person things and having that in-person connection, which you've touched on at the start, you know, about the community side of it. It started off being quite a lot more digital, publishing articles on the website. Now I prefer to do things more in person,
Face-to-face.
and connect.
Yeah,
I think we all got a lot of screen fatigue at this point. So, you know, like for me, there's other ways we can ascend. Even if I'm not necessarily on a dance floor as much, there's other ways we can ascend together through connection and community. So, yeah, it's evolved with the times.
I love that you say that, because you also, like, off screen here, but your involvement with different movements and subcultures. So just to like reiterate back, like on air, you know, global music movements like Cambodian Techno, Kenyan Drill, you know, really like identifying these subcultures and connecting with them. What is it like? Like, I've heard of Ghanaian drill, but never Kenyan drill.
Yes.
That's so sick. Like, I would love to, also I need to explore more, but just like your initial interaction with these different people who love, like, who are like the pioneers in these like subcultures, like how do you identify that and how do you connect with people in that way?
Yeah, it's been totally organic, so it depends on the person and the scene. Some of them I reached out to, so you mentioned Cambodian Techno, so that's someone I found on Facebook back when Facebook was more of a thing. Just researching, because I was really on it at that point, and I found this DJ who's pushing industrial techno in Phnom Penh, which is like not what the scene there is at all, and he's trying to get the local Cambodian community involved as well. Okay. And that's been a whole fascinating relationship we've built online. The Kenyan Drill one you mentioned, shout out to Philip Koff. He's like, we connected in 2021. We've never even met in person, but we've connected on Instagram and like literally supported each other's journey. He reached out to me when he was earlier on in his career, asking for like press for his artists that he worked with. He was an A&R at the time for some of like the top drillers out there, and yeah, we've just stayed connected online. We've now done more collaborations about Kenyan R&B. Oh, nice. Yeah, because I feel like that's more what's relevant these days, you know? So like back in 2021, drill was more popular. Yeah. But now I think music generally has gone a little bit softer, which I really appreciate. So yeah, now we're talking more about the R&B scene, like alt R&B and stuff like that.
Okay. How do you approach the storytelling aspect? And when you are, you know, speaking with these different people about their communities, about the culture, about the music, how do you find a way that it translates, like how the authenticity translates within like written text, when you're having these one-on-one, like very in-person conversations and connections?
Yeah, that's been huge for me, because I'm aware of who I am and my responsibility to like represent people in the correct way and like do them justice. So the format that I typically have done for interviews has always been interview, because I think it needs to be coming from their voice. It's not like my recollection of their scene. I would more be just doing the legwork of writing it up for them, you know, and like making it into a piece of content. But I think it's important to give people their own voice if they're talking about their culture. So yeah, I'm just more there to create the content and put it to a different audience, you could say. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's how I've done it so far, and always just in very close collaboration with whoever I'm working with. So I did a exhibition and an open mic, which was cool. And the idea of the open mic, this was in London. This is fast forward to 2024. Okay. That was celebrating 5 years of Rave Report. And on the exhibition, it was very much like getting people to send in what they want in the exhibition. So it's not me curating their story. I mean, I am, but they've got the autonomy there. Yeah. And I'm just putting it all together. And the open mic was another example of that. You know, it's more just like there was a mic and people can come and speak their truth and express themselves how they want. So I love that. Yeah, it's just more about creating a space for people.
So if people want to read these stories, it's only online. It's like an online publication then, and then the in-person like events and like what you just said about the open mic. But if people want to read and learn more, then they go on like a website then.
Yeah.
I assume. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's a website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have like any audio visual content then of these people.
Yes, that's right. Not really.
Okay.
And I love what you're doing because
Yeah.
it's quite inspiring.
Hey,
actually,
this can be the start, you know.
Yeah.
I love
quite
that.
Inspiring
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to go into your creative outlets, and because you are an artist as well, you're a mural artist.
Yes.
And I would love to know, like, what drew you towards that art form, and where it started. Like, have you done this for a long time? Like, since like early days when you were like, I don't know, in your teens, or was it like maybe a few years ago? What was that like, and like where did it start initially?
Yeah, always been an artist. Spent many hours in my bedroom as a teenager alone drawing. Drawing trippy pictures. So I always had built that kind of muscle memory for doing art back then. But it wasn't until lockdown. I feel like everyone who's a bit of a go-getter started something in lockdown.
Yeah. And lockdown, that's where everything started to like think,
Everything.
you know, you start to question everything. It's
Yes.
like, okay, maybe I should just focus on this dream that I have, you know, and just
Yeah.
like do the thing that I want to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And for me, it was doing graffiti.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm not really doing graffiti anymore, but that's how it started. So that was a journey. Started with graffiti, and it was kind of because I needed a bit of a rebellious outlet, to be honest. I needed to feel some adrenaline, you know. Before, back then, I was always a raver. So I needed something to replace the rave. And doing graffiti felt like the right thing. Yeah. So it was like,
love it.
with the spray can.
Very energetic, you know. I feel like it's so free flowing. So I love that you've
Exactly.
like translated that into like, you know, a visual art form. You know, so fluid, and I love that.
That's right.
Continue.
That's what I do love about spray paint, because it is, and that's very interesting you say that, because the graffiti journey kind of moved more into muralism, and it kind of tied in with my sort of own awakening, you could say, spiritual awakening. I think a lot of people went through that during lockdown as well. You know, it's a bit of a wake up of consciousness for a lot of people. The graffiti journey started in a very masculine form, and really trying to comply with the London scene, which is quite a techie place I would recommend.
Okay. Wait, so when you say that is quite masculine.
Yes, very.
How does that look like? Or like
it's just all guys like that are all just, you know, like doing illegal activities on the streets.
Okay.
And I was like, is this me? Like, no. Do I look like that? Like, no. So I kind of made my own space in it. I started off doing it in the, you know, traditional way, and I quickly realized it wasn't for me at all.
Okay.
So yeah, I turned it into a very feminine expression that was very flowing, like you say, bringing in even a different style that isn't trying to be the sort of angular London style. You know, mine is a lot more round and cute and soft and colourful.
Okay.
And yeah, started to paint in dresses, started to just bring my feminine essence into it, and that's how I found my style.
Lovely.
Yeah.
What is there a community that you like initially was drawn to, and like, okay, I want to learn more about, you know, muralism, and
yes,
like where can I find these people? Like, because maybe for someone that's listening now, like they want to start, like where do you start? Where do you find your people? How do you find your people?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I actually got all my inspo from Brazil.
Okay.
Shout out to the whole of Brazil.
Nice.
Like, just as a country.
We love you.
Yeah, we do. And that's where Instagram actually comes into play.
Okay.
I think Instagram's great for art. Like, that's probably its best, you know, use, I believe, is through art and connecting artists. So yeah, it's been brilliant for that, and visual art is really good for as well. So I got a lot of my style inspo from there.
Okay.
Connected with some artists over there, met up with them when I was out there, and like interviewed them on Rave Report, which was so special.
I love how everything just like comes together in that sense, you know. That's really cool.
But in person in London, I would say what I did is more get my girlfriends involved.
Okay.
Get the girls involved because they actually were too scared to start. And I think it just helps having one other girl who's doing it. And then I actually ended up getting, shout out Rahel, she's one of my best friends. Like, she's now incredible, like way, like one of the most talented graffiti writers I know.
Amazing.
Or my girl Vanessa, like she's a bit more on the cute soft bubble style like me. But I've just painted with my girls and we've formed our own little group, and it's not like we're all doing it all the time, but it's just been really beautiful to get my own friends involved and just make it our own.
Yeah, I love that, because there's a way to like you know, get support and support each other, you know, and support, I guess, each other's visions in a way, and explore and experiment. Is there a specific movement within visual arts that you think you are heavily influenced by that has indicated your style? Because you did mention like, Brazilian culture, but is there a specific movement?
Yes.
Maybe.
Great question.
Okay.
It's actually the Brazilian style of graffiti and murals, I should say. So it's not, well, it is completely tied into their culture.
Okay.
But, oh man, they have this incredible scene, which when I went to Sao Paulo, I was really upset because London didn't look like that.
Oh, really? Is it
so
like bright,
colourful.
vibrant,
yeah,
colourful? Okay.
It's so uplifting. It's just, every sky block has got like half of them have got like giant murals of like rainforests and like beautiful goddesses, and they've got like this style of this like graffiti hand style called pichação, which is when they abseil down and it's almost like they've tattooed the building like downwards.
That's so
and
sick.
It's just stunning.
I love that.
So yeah, they paint. That's why I've kind of moved more into murals as well, because they love mural culture. It's not just graffiti; it's just street art in general. So yeah, I would say I've taken all my inspo from there, and I'll always credit them. That's why I've done so much work on Brazil and Rave Report, because they've just been.
They just inspired you that heavily.
Fundamental.
Okay. That makes sense. I guess also because I did a bit of reading in terms of like, why is London, and this is honestly my own opinion, obviously it's a personal opinion, why it's always so grey, like and I realized apparently it stems back from like World War II and like the movement that has been incorporated in like what we see now today in our streets. It's like brutalism.
Yes.
It's very concrete, very static, very like authoritarian, which gives it that really cold vibe.
And the people.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Then the people, but obviously London is huge. So depending on where you are. Cool. But when I say this, I'm more referencing like the council estates, you know, because that's very like, it's just really grey and concrete and big, and you know, it's like there's no fluidity, and that's what we miss, and the vibrancy and the colorfulness of like what life can represent. So yeah, I guess it stems from that. I'm not entirely sure, but I think I did some reading, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. Then that's the style that they've like used for most of the spaces in terms of like bringing working class people together, or providing a space for working class people, and then having that as the architecture. I think they need to change that. I think they're trying to change that, but I guess the conversation is also kicking out all these different communities that made those spaces their home, which is, you know, is not a great thing to do anyway. And then gentrification and like bringing new people in, and they change the entire vibe of the area or of the borough. But I feel like that's more like a different conversation. But art is really a great way to bring it to life,
100%.
and bring people together, and
Yeah.
making sure that young people feel like they have a creative outlet and they can explore and learn from their neighbors and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's sick that what you're doing, and I feel like you need to get more commissions and need to do like more work in London.
Thank you. I love
You
what
have to do that.
Yeah, thank you. I really love what you said there, and it does make me think, because Sao Paulo, where they have this incredible scene, is similar to London. It is very concrete, and they have a lot of struggle there.
Okay.
But what they do have is this vibrancy and colour. It's like the whole city. It's like a sketchbook, and all those buildings, which are kind of similar to the London estates as well, but they just have a bit more colour to them. So.
I feel like it really affects you. Like
Yeah.
you're coming home and everything is like grey and like boring, and so it's nice to have that part of the of your neighborhood being that colorful and nice.
I would just say also, to do Sao Paulo just like to justice as well, it is completely tagged up. Like, it has the murals, but it's also got, like I mentioned, the style Pisha style, which is the hand style. That's like the one I mentioned where they abseil and it's sort of a tattoo style.
Yeah.
A lot of the locals hate that because it is quite aggressive. Like, I find it beautiful, but it's also a resistance movement as well. So yeah, it's definitely artistic in my eyes, but it's not to everyone.
Okay, fair.
So
that's fair.
Yeah.
Speaking of commissions,
Yes.
So Whitechapel, because you've done work in Whitechapel, correct?
Yes.
And that was commissioned.
Yes.
So what was that process like, and how did you get the commission in the first place? Because that would be cool to know for people that want to get into that.
Yeah.
And how was that creative process like?
Yeah. So that was a funny one, actually. I feel like all of Rave Report has been very much organic. It's kind of like who I meet when I'm outside.
Okay.
So you know Gabby Valim, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was her birthday, and I met this dude there at her birthday party.
Okay.
And it turns out he was an artist as well, and he ran a music event called Idol Form.
Okay.
And he basically just asked me to come and paint it.
Nice.
So yeah, like, he was wanting the ad, essentially.
Okay.
It'd be good for his brand, and it was a great opportunity for me. So yeah, we collaborated on the design.
See, community.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all within the community.
Exactly.
I love this.
Yeah, so it just happened organically. We made a documentary, and it took 2 days, but I designed it, and then we all painted it together, and now you can see it from East London Mosque in Whitechapel on the main road.
Okay, I need to go. I'm thinking, have I been around Whitechapel lately? I don't think so. So I need to make my way there. And go and check it out.
It's huge.
Okay.
If you stand opposite Tesco, if you're coming out Tesco's next to East London Mosque, you'll see it.
Okay, cool.
It's
I'm gonna
just
do that.
bright orange. Like,
I love orange.
It's got a flower with a face who's got its eyes shut, and like a happy smiling flower who kind of looks like she's in a little sleeping bag.
Oh, I love that. That's so
it really
cute.
brightens up the street.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, when because we spoke obviously about your work outside of recording the podcast, but now that we're talking about it now, you really want to create a safe space for women, and as you mentioned earlier about like focusing on female empowerment.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that? Because I would love to know more.
Yes. So that really did come out of the feminine awakening. That's been really huge part of Rave Report, actually, because it ties into the creative process, and it's more the behind the scenes stuff that you might not even see from the output of the art, but that's what drives everything, as you know, as a creator. And yeah, it came out of for many things, but in a nutshell, it was about stepping into my softness.
Nice.
Yes. And creating a space for other women so we can all step into our softness. And that means not necessarily working so hard. Doing it more slowly.
Yeah.
Doing it more pleasurably, more flowing, more sensually.
Okay.
And at the start, when I was doing Rave Report, when I was writing all those articles and like pushing out all those, like, yeah, all those pieces of work, it was so much work. It was like, it wasn't cute. It was cute, but it was also just, yeah, very exhausting. It was good because I would say to anyone who wants to start something, like, it's good to put in the work when you're just starting out. You know, you have to put in the hard work. But then I realized, like, why? I'm not actually, this is a passion project. So one element of the femininity has been about stepping into the softness, which we have within all of us. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but it's that soft feminine side. Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's been also just because I love women. I do love women, so it's just a pleasure to collaborate with women who are like-minded, such as yourself. So I just love to see other women win.
It's also a way of like making a mark in a male-dominated space, and also wanting to see change. Looking now and like what you've been through and your journey so far, what will be one of the changes that you would like to see in the next few years within the space?
Oh, what space? There's a few spaces that I work in.
Okay. Well, let's start with within the muralism community, and then we can like bleed into all of the other.
Do you know what? You inspired me. What you said about London and how concrete it is. I think there's always going to be more space for colour and vibrancy and flowing and warmth in the architecture. And I do think it does make a huge difference to the community. So, yeah, I would love to see more of that on our streets because it's energetic, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, you know, when you can see that those bright colours, it's just someone's expression that they're sharing with you every day. So I would love to see more of that, and I'd love to be part of it as well. I'm going to put that out there.
We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen.
Yes, we are. Yeah. It's my dream in the next few years to like paint the side of a building, like with, you know, big, I don't know what they're called, those things with a spring, and then you can go up. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like
spring.
It's not really a spring. It's like a metal spring, like.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know which one you mean. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd love to do that and just put something really uplifting on a big like block. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah,
let's do that. We're gonna work to 2025. We're gonna, we're gonna chase the dream, and we're gonna do it. And it's definitely possible. So, yeah, I feel like you're definitely inspiring, and other people will definitely know that just by listening to the podcast and listening to this episode. Speaking about community and impact and hosting community events as well, how do you feel like how community events contribute towards cultural change?
Loving these questions.
Thank you. I'm like thinking and like.
Yes, they are everything. Because we're all so addicted to our phones, myself included.
Same.
It's crazy. Yeah. Everyone is. Yeah. Everyone. So we need these events and these spaces to, I mentioned it at the start, to ascend. I think that's something I've really loved. So, side note, but is relevant. I actually took a sabbatical from Rave Report in the summer. Okay. Because I was dealing with some personal stuff. And I decided to just ditch the raves and the music and just go into other spaces and see what I could find there. Yeah. And that's where I kind of learned this power of ascension in a community event. So however that may look, you can have that on a dance floor, obviously. But there's other spaces, like if you're singing or doing poetry or like creating art together as a group. Yeah. It's very healing, and I've done other kind of dance events which have been more about like free flowing movement and they might be more intentional, more like spiritual events with no alcohol, and you might drink cacao and do the ceremony.
I love that. I definitely love that.
Yeah,
I've asked, honestly, during nights out, club nights, if they had hot chocolate, and people would look at me like I was a mad woman.
Right? Isn't that insane?
I was like, but I just want something like a hot drink, and they would look at me like,
Wouldn't that be
you're
lovely?
Crazy.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be so nice? Hot chocolate.
Because I don't drink either. So
I remember.
Yeah. It's funny.
They need to be doing this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you've done a piece on sobriety recently, right?
Yes.
And clubbing without having to drink and, having a good time.
Correct. And I think that's because since I started Rave Report, I did kind of stop drinking as much.
Okay.
Rave Report. I wouldn't even say I report on raves anymore. I've just kept the name because it's
I love
the brand. It's the brand. It's reporting on culture and community and art, but that doesn't sound as snappy. But so exploring all these creative spaces has just taught me the power of ascension, and not through intoxicants, but more through co-creation and collaboration and expression. And that's what I want to see more of, and that's the path I would like to take my work moving forward.
Because that was going to be my next question. How do you, as a journalist, also as a mural artist, how does it inform each other? And how do you find a medium where you still can use both, I guess, schools of thought in your work moving forward? And what you would like to see, or what message do you want to leave behind as you are evolving as an artist and exist and explore in these different spaces, whether this is music or this is really focused on a physical art form, or if it's spoken word, just using speech as a way to express yourself and to color your stories in a way for people to imagine what it is to be in your shoes and stuff like that. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, that was the best ramble.
I'm like, where is this question?
No, it was more of a speech. A beautiful one. But I love that.
To go back.
Yeah.
I guess what is the key message that you would want to leave behind as you are using these different sides of yourself to express?
I think the Rave Report started off in 2019, and the world was in a very different place then.
Oh yeah,
for everyone.
Yeah.
And we've come a long way now. We're in 2025.
I cannot believe it.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm scared.
The last 5 years is scary, isn't it? It's a different time. Yeah. Politics are different. The relationship to our phones is different. Yeah. The internet's different.
Yeah.
We have AI.
Yeah.
So it's a very different place, and I feel like now, for me, it's really going to be about intersecting that music journalism and muralism. I've not even thought about it like that, but I think that's going to be the key, doing that in person. And I think that's my message, is about how we can get off our phones, and which is a message for me as well, to get off our phones and come together in a space and co-create to create change that might just be in the room, but that's something so powerful about that. Not everything has to be captured. Some things can just be magical in the moment, and I really want to bring that back. However that may be. And maybe something comes out of it, but I just think coming back to that, what even the essence of Rave Report is, which is about connecting with people, in a dance floor. Yeah. And how we have those moments on a dance floor when we're dancing, those spiritual moments where we just forget about ourselves and our bodies, and we just kind of have this collective consciousness. I think that's what I want to come back to. Okay. I think even Rave Report got really political at one point. I went down a real activist route, and that was fantastic, and it's all still there, but seeing even the way politics have changed recently, it's almost made me just want to go back to that more, the essence of the art. Okay. And the politics, it's informing everything I do, but it's not as explicit anymore, because I just think, what we need in this world is just more of those connections,
community, creativity, expression. Would you say that in itself is an act of rebellion and a form of activism?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
because it's more about creating a space for people to express freely.
Okay.
And I think that's what is becoming harder to do. So like I'm kind of like brainstorming out loud here, because
I feel like, because you said the political climate, it's so, what would be the right word? Maybe polarizing?
Yes.
That it's almost like you want to focus on the thing that is going to be good for you as the person, or you as like the soul itself, but then doing that is already a form of activist behavior in a way. But even if you don't want to call it that, because I can understand where people say, well, I am just doing this, but for others it could be like, you are a vessel that I see that is actively working against something that you don't stand for. I feel like, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm like, that is already a form of activism in a way, even if you don't want to use that label or terminology. But I guess to move into a different topic slightly, for those who are listening to you as a music journalist, as a mural artist, as a human being that wants to, make a mark in the world and create more softness and center more conscious living, what advice would you have for those people?
For what people?
For people
creatives.
that are creatives, aspiring artists, aspiring music journalists, aspiring mural artists.
Yeah. I would say it's all about creating the right conditions in your life to flourish creatively.
Okay.
And that kind of goes, and that kind of goes beyond the creative practice itself. So it's more about like the overall mindset and getting in the right energetic space to be able to create. Because we've all been there when we have that block and we can't create. Yeah. And there's usually a reason why. There's something that's actually blocking us. So I think if there's a way that we can tap into our bodies to unblock what needs to be unblocked, then I think the creativity flows. And for me, again, going back to that femininity, and this is quite a feminine thing, but it's been about tapping into my own eroticism.
Ooh. I was not expecting that.
Yes.
Okay.
But that can also mean the eroticism of life.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And kind of relaxing into it and finding what you have around you to be juicy and delicious and sensual, even if it's just having a nice meal by yourself or, enjoying the sun coming through the leaves. Or that's the kind of thing that helps inspire me to create, is by tapping into that energy. And I do think men can tap into it as well. It's in all of us and it's all around us, but it's up to us to create that ritual.
I love that.
Yeah, in order to be more erotic.
Would you say that is a form of romanticizing your life?
Yes, which is my favorite internet trend.
Really? I was like, why are we romanticizing? But yeah, I can understand why. But I'm also like, sometimes people might use that as a way to escape reality. Because reality is too harsh, it's too painful, it's too this. I'd rather say that it's that, therefore I'm able to cope with it. But it doesn't have to be like that, obviously. because I'm generalizing and I'm not, obviously everyone has different experiences.
Yeah, no, not everyone's able to eroticize their life. I think that's a good goal to have, but if you don't have your basic needs being met, then it's quite hard to see life as being erotic. So I think that's why it's like trying to tap into how we can aim to be more relaxed and, you know, see things as being beautiful as they really are. And again, it goes back to trying to create those conditions.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done. But
that's true.
Yeah, but I think mindset and having even just the idea of eroticism of life, and that doesn't have to be through a man. Yeah. It can be just in yourself or a woman, you know, it can just be internal. That's where we're the source energy. So just trying to tap into that. And even if you don't feel like that all the time, because it's impossible to feel sexy all the time, but when you do, just really enjoy it and enjoy the moment. Yeah. However that may be. And it can be for free. Like, it could just be how, you know, you're a dancer, like, you know, how you move, or it could be having a delicious hot chocolate. Yeah. You know, it could just be something so small, but just really savoring it. Yeah. That is my creative process.
Okay. Just like cherishing these moments.
Yes. Yeah. Or when I paint, it's very intentional. I always light candles and have flowers there.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
just
amazing.
Making it into a real moment.
Yeah. Very attentive and intentional. Yes. I love that. Okay. Then I guess towards the end, I ask all of my guests a specific question, and I think it's more like a ritual now, so I want to do that with you as well. So the end ritual is share a quote that provided solace during a creative hardship. It doesn't have to be specifically creative, but it could be just like a creative hardship or just a hardship in general that actually suited your mind and your soul.
Lovely. So my mantra is, and I've put this into my recent art, is "You are divine AF."
Oh, I like that one.
Thank you. It's a reminder for me, but it's a reminder for everyone, because we all have the divinity within us, and sometimes we forget. Yeah. So it's always the reminder for me. We haven't even talked about my latest concept, which is goddess mode. Oh, we kind of have, but this is to sum it all up. To sum it all up. Yeah. To tie all those threads into one, the journey of Rave Report has ended up in goddess mode. Okay. It started off in like stress mode. But after the hardships along the way, because we've had we talked about the professional accolades and, you know, all the experiences, but behind all of that is all the heartbreak and the grief and everything else that goes on behind the scenes. But one thing that always gets me through is remembering to get back into goddess mode, and that goes back to the intentionality, the flowers, the sensuality, and just creating those little moments.
I love that. Yes. I love that, because I was also thinking, goddess mode, divinity, and how rare it is that we are alive. Yes. I don't know if you know the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. But he has a podcast as well, and actually I should not be talking about other people's podcasts, but anyway,
it's okay.
He has a podcast called Star Talk, and I love listening to that. And they were talking about the existence and how that we are, was it 1 out of trillion possibilities that we are, even the possibility of us being alive is 1 out of trillion something. I was like, that's so crazy. So I love that you mentioned, like, going back to, like, divinity and intentionality and
the magic of being here.
Yeah.
We forget. It's easy to forget, but when I remember, it's like, oh yeah. You know? It's like, I am divine. Yeah. And you are divine, and we're all capable. Yeah. So we just have to remember. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. It was such a nice conversation.
Yes.
I want to say one more thing. So you were talking about, like, eroticizing life and, like, you know, the moments that we have. There's a experience that I had
Please share.
that I had my own shroom moment obviously I'm not promoting doing any drugs, but I had that experience, and I remember that there was like a basket with like fruits, and you had like blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries. And I remember picking up the strawberry, and the strawberry looked so like bold and like so bright and like alive, that I was so mesmerized by that. And when I took a bite, it was just like honestly like mind blowing.
Wow.
I could not understand that piece of strawberry just like gave me that experience. And I think that just ties into like being so intentional with like food and just life in general.
Colour.
And the color, it was so
Taste.
bold. Like honestly, I cannot even describe the experience,
And
which
the
is
moment
crazy.
of eating it.
Yeah.
It's just one moment.
Like it looked so alive. That I'm like, and our brains are just like, because we have so much information, it just like it cuts off most of the sense or like the intensity of the sensory.
Yes.
So I was like, oh my God, this is what we're missing, like on a day to day, even if it's just like washing hands. Even that was a whole experience for me. I was like, what the hell? I was like, what the hell? We're experiencing this on a day to day. But I can understand why, because we will have like information overload, because it's just too much.
Yeah, imagine if every moment.
Honestly, it's too much. Like wearing trousers will be like, Anyway, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
For those who want to find you online, where can they find you?
Rave Report. At Rave Report on Instagram.
Okay.
www.ravereport. No, rewind. www.theRaveReport.
Okay. Very important. Nice. And then on Instagram and like socials, that's at Rave Report.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you all for listening. Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram, and if you're listening on Spotify or any other like streaming platform, make sure to follow us there. And I hope to have you all ears next time. So thank you. Rave Report.